Okay, done. Okay, welcome. What's up, everybody? Nice to see you here. And welcome to today's live trading London to New York crossover with the Harmonic Scanner. So without any ado, let's just start sharing. And I just wanted to say, if you are new, then welcome, and have a look in the unit section in the Financial Freedom Movement group. And then when you join, if you choose to join us, you'll come into our wonderful trading community. Very supportive, very helpful, and we all trade together, we all learn together. So super simple systems that we've refined over the years. So that's there, and then come into the IM.Center. I just want to check, there's a new scan. I had an alert up from one of our members. I won't probably draw it. I just want to check the size of it because I've noticed that scans are smaller this week under the 80 pips minimum that I like on my rules. So I just wanted, it was an H1 hourly time frame, which is the time frame I use. So you'll come to, when you join IM.Center, you've got your academies here for your videos, generic videos to learn from, and then the strategies where you log into the what used to call products, now called strategies. Here's Vibrata for BYOB, and then the Harmonics, which is free with the lowest package. So I just wanted to check. You can use any of these brokers. There was a new CAD JPY one that's just come out. Here it is here. So we won't draw this at the moment. You need to have the time zone to your, please feel free to ask questions, by the way, or I'll stop a little early at the end before Sharon's session. Local time zone at the bottom, and then get your ruler on the left. So this is a bigger scan, I think. Ignore the pipette at the end, that's 194, so that's big enough for us to draw. But with sharks in particular, you can see it has 2 entry points. We only enter on the second entry, or as it comes up to take profit 1, or halfway between those 2. And the other rule that we have for normal patterns is that it's a minimum of 20 pips. It has to have moved. So it's just coming off that D point, and this is because this D point can move. It's not stabilized, and we need that to make sure that it is okay to draw. So I'm just going to write this down so I've got it for later. So come over with use your vertical line if you want to copy these onto the scanner, and take the date and time at the bottom. It's written American style with the month first, 04 for April. So I turn it round. So that's the 21st of the 4th at 1100. That's my local time zone here in Paris. So I'm an hour ahead of UK. So you will be, that would be 10 o'clock for you. So 23rd of the 4th at 1700. B 27th of the 4th at 1500, and this is a very simple system that I use. It's join the dots, it's copy and paste. That's the 30th of the 4th at 2100. And that last one at the moment, but as I say, we're not going to draw it yet. The D point is the 6th of the 5th at 1300. So I'll come back to check that later. We'll see how we're doing. So let's start going through some pairs. I've noticed that the scanner is making a lot of 15-minute smaller scans below the 80 pips. So, and I'm not a Forex expert, not like the big top educators on Go Live. This is only what I'm thinking, that it's Bank of England interest rates tomorrow, and they're announcing it early in the morning, 6 or 7 a.m. And normally they do it at lunchtime. So what does that mean? What kind of announcement are they going to be making? How will that affect the Great British Pound? And then secondly, it's non-farm payroll, and that's everything outside of agriculture in the States. And it's a day that most of us do not trade at all, because the market holds its breath, and then the big Forex traders swipe the market up and down to suit themselves, great big moves. and there's 20 million unemployed in the US announced for April. So that could be why you're now seeing smaller moves, because everybody's kind of waiting to see what the rest of the week is going to be like. So check your Forex factory, and today obviously is Wednesday. So tentative euro forecast, Japanese bank holiday, New Zealand red flag, which was just past midnight, and then ADP non-farm employment change. That is not as big as this non-farm employment change on Friday. I'm not sure what the difference is, to be honest, but that is coming up. Well, it's like now, so we don't really want to be trading anything on red flag for an hour either side. So we need to be aware of the USD at the moment. Okay, so that's caught us up to date on that. I'll just start off by showing you one trade. Oh, CAD JPY, that's interesting. We'll have a look at that first. I didn't hear that go off. So let's have a look. Don't know why that went off, because I've got the alert down there. That must have been from quite a bit earlier, because I've since moved my blue alert line down to the pitchfork. This is on the 1 minute trend. What happens on the 1 minute will happen across the longer time frames. So there's no trade there on CAD JPY at the moment, but as I say, we may have that new scan. I'll just make a note there to draw. So it's obviously sort of bottomed out. So let's go back to what I was going to show you. I'm going to shut that one down so it doesn't slow the system down for us. How's everybody doing? Is anybody in any trades, or if you want to discuss anything, or you can wait till we stop sharing at the end or stop recording. Excuse me, if you want to ask any questions. So that's trading view glitching. So NZD USD was a trade I was in earlier, just to show you the thought process. So why did I get into this trade? I ended up with 5 pips. Let me just move this to the, which again is not to be sniffed at. We're happy with our 5 to 10 pips. It depends also what your account size is, what size lots you are trading. It's not to do always with big pips. So I'll just move that over there. So why did I get into this trade? Because the green line is like a trend line. That's a pitchfork, which is an aggressive trend line. It's built on maths, and it's next to quarter theory, again, which is a strong line of support and resistance. So I had the two together between where I entered and where my stop loss is. So I had 2 confirmations. I need 3 confirmations to enter a trade. And then I had the 62, that's the 1 minute trend, crossing the blue line, which is the 15-minute trend. So that's a 3rd confirmation for an entry. So I also had a 10 pip break and retest. So that's a perfect entry. It would have been very rude not to get into that that trade. So you can see I've marked the 10 pips there because that's where I moved my stop loss, which was up here. Whoops. Oh, can't come out that brush mark, sorry. Sorry about that. So originally my blue line, oh, come on, a bit slow, a bit laggy, was up here. Obviously that was my stop loss at 10 pips. So when I get into a trade, I put it at 1 pip. So it reminds me where I want to move my stop profit to. So I've got a risk-free trade because that covers me, that little green bit covers me for the broker's spread and commission. So that's very good. And then it did go down 12 pips, and I was running down past the 62. Now this is a very slow moving pair. So if you are new to trading, pick slower moving pairs because you feel more in control. You know, you can watch them. You don't feel that they're very fast, you know, volatile, moving back and forth on you. This moves on a speed out of 10 at only a 2. Even in these fast markets, it's slower anyway. So I got in on that second entry perfectly, which means I've got a very precise 10 pip stop loss. So I've got a risk to reward there of 1 to 2. That's my 4%. So I then followed my blue line. Sorry, I've moved. Yeah, moved it back up. So I followed my blue line as I followed the 62. I kept it coming down a bit, and then I had it at 5 pips, which was round about that previous little high there, and then it came back up and it took me out of the trade. But I mean, you know, that's all fine. I think I got out, actually it was over here, it wicked back on me because I saw it stalling out, and I'll explain the fib to you in a minute. I saw it stalling out and it hit my take profit 1, which if you remember, if you are on my sessions, when I do put a fib on, I do them to help me with the profit target. So that's take profit 1. Sorry, very badly drawn number 2. And then down here is a take profit 3 potential. So that always helps me with my, slow today. So it did stall out along the take profit 1. So I was thinking, well, do you know what, I'll stay in this one. And then it started to suddenly go back up and it took me out at the 5 pips. So I thought, fine. And then it came back up here and I thought, is that going to give me another entry? But it came above quarter theory there. So I thought, well, no, you know, it's moved now above the 62 and it's staying, that's shoveling price up, it's staying above it. And sure enough, now the 1 minute trend line has crossed above, so it's on its way back up. So I made 5 pips on that trade, and I put a Fibonacci on here, which is the previous high up here to the previous low at the time when I had gotten the trade. So I moved this because I was looking at getting back in. So I had it here. Sorry, I won't move those numbers, but I had it back. Let me just see if I can get this back up there. So I had, take that off. It was up here. That was my previous low when I was getting into the trade there. So it had, I've got to remember this now. Sometimes I forget what I've done. So I can't remember now. Sorry about that, but I had, because I got in there definitely, and it had rejected off before. That's right, had rejected off here at the 61.8. So I got in there and it got down to take profit 1, and then it took me out at the 5 pips just as it retraced, because I'd followed the 62 line down. And you know, you're always hoping to get that home run. You know, I was hoping to get 25, 30 pips down here, but it didn't work out like that. But I was quite happy with the 5 pips. I felt I'd managed the trade fine. I felt in control of it, sort of knew what I was doing. And I think that's the important thing, because if you've got your setups that you feel confident with and your reasons why you got into a trade, then you feel far more in control, you know, sort of staying in the trade or deciding where you're going to get out. And I think that's really important, because otherwise, you know, I've been there myself, where you're in a trade a lot on your live account and you're thinking, oh gosh, am I doing the right thing? Should I still be in this trade? How many pips can I get? And it's a bit like sort of flailing around blindly. And you really don't want to be doing that, particularly when markets move quite fast. Just tidy that up. So it's coming back down now. And it looks like it's finished its upward move, dropping below the 62. So if we wanted to look at that, mind you, we've got a USD on it, so we don't want to be in it because of the news announcement, which may be, let me take the quarters theory off to show you. So that's at, there we are at the 15-minute red news has made the Australian dollar drop. So an hour either side, we don't want to be getting into this anyway. So I just thought that might be helpful, an explanation of how I decide to get into a trade in practical terms to show you how I manage it, why I got out in and out where I did. Okay, so that's NZD USD. Let's go to something that isn't a USD pair. So we could look at, I think I've got a lot of USD pairs up. GBP, JPY, Great British Pound, Japanese Yen. It is Japanese Bank. Oh, yes, I wanted to talk to you about this one because this is one that I looked at yesterday on the call. So I said I put it out as a trade idea for a possible buy. So that's why I've kept the markups here for you. I did say on the call, and you can see on that yellow line, I said at this point it's a 50-50 trade. Only get into it, you know, if it did a break and a retest on that quarter theory, which it didn't do. It decided, as per the yellow line I drew there, to do a break and a retest off that 1 minute trend, drop below the 62, and then in fact that was the move it decided to make, which was a very nice 50 100 pip move down to there. So that's how you decide on this system. Use your confirmations. Have you got the confirmations? If it's a setup like that, which could be very nice, you saw it on NZD USD where we had the pitchfork and the quarter theory together and it worked perfectly. This is another 50-50 one, which is, you know, it had all those rejections off quarter theory. It was in an upward trend at that time, and it was above the 62, but it was stalling out, and then it decided it could not break through. It acted as a strong ceiling, and it decided to go for the sell. So whatever system you're using, you need to look at your confirmations, tick them off your list, think about what price is doing, why it's stalling out, and is it 50, when it stalls out, it's always a 50-50 trade, and then make your decisions only when you've got your confirmations lined up. And then when you do get in and they're lined up and it goes the wrong way, then, you know, you put that down to the 30% or whatever percent you think your system has of those failed trades, but you're still going to be compounding if you're over, you know, 50-50. Just get rid of, tidy this up while we're here. So that was the, and it's glitching down on this quarter theory. So that was the trade idea yesterday. So at the moment, I've got nothing there sitting outside the pitchforks. I haven't got another scan down here because I checked earlier on this morning when I was setting these up for today. I'll just put my alert on there to see if it does come back into this current scan. And I can't even put a second pitchfork on this one. I looked, there's nothing that lines up with it. So that's nothing on GBP, JPY.
Sarah.
Hello. Hello, Connor.
Are you right?
Yeah, fine, thanks. You all right?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, the confirmation sheets you had up yesterday.
Yeah.
Where can we find them? Because I couldn't really see them in your unit section, or are they just
oh, are you in my Ninja Traders?
Yeah, I am.
DreamWorks. I thought I'd put it in there in the units.
Ah, okay. I was looking in the Ninja section.
Oh, don't worry. Oh, okay. I know I need to do more in there. I'll message you with an attachment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Trade sheet version 2. Okay, will do. It's called trade sheet version 2. NZD CAD. What is this doing? That's a buy. It's broken above there. That's 2 confirmations for a buy. But as you can see, it's dropping back down. Is it retesting? Is it going to carry on up? It is well past the pitchfork, so it's in the middle there. Sorry, I don't know if it's well past the pitchfork. Hang on, that's probably about 10 pips, is it? So that's a 10 pip break and retest up there. So that looks to me like it wants to carry on going on up, but I haven't got 3 confirmations for this. So what we can do is put a trend line on and just see if it's going to. So that that looks like it's breaking the upper trend and coming back down, because that's a break and a retest. Here, break and a retest of the 1 minute trend, which is one of our confirmations. There. And I'll just change that to green, which is how I like to do my trend lines. Yeah, so that looks to me like it's dropping back down to, but you don't know till it comes under that 62, dropping back down to that pitchfork, which is 16 pips away there. And it's certainly not looking like it wants to carry on that upward move. So, but we haven't got 3, we've got 1 confirmation there. We need to come under the 62 and do a break and a retest off that pitchfork. And then you've only got 10 to 15 pips. I like to give up a few pips till I've seen that break and a retest. Sometimes it just shoots straight down or straight up and you don't get that. But that is ideally what I like to do. And, you know, we want to see, is price going to, is it trying to come back down here now? That's what it looks like it's doing, stalling out along here. So nothing on NZD CAD at the moment. Let's tick that off. And this one is, that's got a USD in it, so I'll leave that for the moment. This is, sorry, it's all on quarter theory. This is Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Just let's see if I can get that quarter theory to stop glitching. So I did have a fib on this because I was looking at it, but I didn't do anything with it. I'll just take that off. I like to practice the fibs just to make sure I remember them right, because sometimes, you know, you've got to get the past to present, high to low, the most recent fib, but not directly on current price. So again, this one looks like it's doing similar. Very similar, isn't it? They're similar currencies, I guess. So that's coming back down as well. Same sort of thing. It's already dropped 7 pips. So that's Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Nothing on that. And how far? It's probably similar. How far away is that from pitchfork below? 20 pips down there, but quarter theory's quite far away. And I probably put, I think I might put an alert for lower down. Just put one there. And I was going to show you something else today, why I use the 1 minute, show you a drawing, why I use the 1 minute trend and why it works in the sense of working across all time frames. So if I just hide these for you, so I've got a blank screen. Okay, so when you're on any time frame, this is how the market moves. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the typical market. So say that's an hourly time frame. That's how the market moves in waves. This is called an Elliott wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they have different Fibonacci retracement levels, but all you need to know is that those are magic numbers that work, and that's the basis of the harmonic scanner, which forms different patterns according to how deep each of these retracements are, which is why they've got different names and they are different shapes, because they're working off different Fibonacci retracement points. So if I then look, say I wanted to look at the 15-minute chart, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, sorry, it's a bit slow, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and I'm not very good at drawing, 3, 4, 5, okay? So that would be, if I change that color, a bit slow, settings, make that, I don't know, it doesn't matter, green. So that green is the 15-minute chart, and then on the 1-minute chart, this is what I'm looking at. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So sorry if it's a bit of a scribble. I'll change that to a different color. So what I'm looking at is the 1-minute chart. It's the same pattern on that 1 minute is pink, the green is the 15-minute, and the yellow is the 1 hourly. So that's why I can work on very precise entries with a 10-pip stop loss, because what happens on that 1-minute chart is the same move. It's like looking very close up at your hand, as you will find happens on the 15-minute and then on the hourly. Okay, it's all the same waves. It's all the same patterns. I'll just take that off. I thought that might be, I hope that hasn't confused anyone. Just clear that up. So that's why I'm looking at the 1 minute for the entries. So that's, oh, I should get very confused if I've got all this turned off. That's better. And let me just put the quarters back on. And okay, so that is Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Sod's law, it's decided it's carrying on up. What looks like it is. So if you were thinking of this for a trade right now, then wait for a break and a retest here, preferably 10 pips. But it doesn't always give you that. But if it doesn't, then you need some other confirmations. So you've got it breaking the pitchfork because you've got a quarter theory up there, so we can't use that. We can use a trend line, and you want a minimum of 3 touches. So you want it to stay above above your 1 minute trend line, and you can see it's above the 62 as well. And let me just change the color to trend line color there. And if we were going to put a Fibonacci on, I'll try, because as I say, sometimes I'm not always, I don't feel I'm always brilliant at them, but I keep practicing. So where am I going to choose for my previous low? That one, I think I could, or I could choose that one. That's where I kind of think, have I chosen the right one? So that one up to not current price. You never want to take current price, and you do it from low to high as we're looking at a buy. So that point there, and then we want to see where did it retrace to. So it has, what have we got here? That's the 100%. So I think we've got rejections there of that 80. It's just missed it slightly, but it is on quarter theory. So that's quite nice. So if you looked at it from that point of view, then you've got your take profit 3 up here, but there's no saying it's going to make that. It's already here on the pitchfork at take profit 1. So it could turn. So I'll leave that marked up like that. And if we have time, we'll come back and see if it in fact has now run out of steam at that take profit 1. And sometimes I come back because I think, oh, did I get the fib right? You know, how did that actually work? So that's OrdCAD, nothing on that at the moment. Let me just close that down and it won't slow our system down. Great British Pound, CHF, GSHF. I'm just avoiding the USD pairs at the moment because of the red flag news that's just come out. I'll just turn that on and off, see if that stabilizes. That's a glitch on TradingView when it does that. So, okay, there was a nice little setup here. I can't remember if I had that one marked up from this morning. It wasn't the one that I got in anyway. So there's a nice little setup here because you had the rejection off the pitchfork and under quarter theory and a rejection under quarter theory there. It did drop down quite suddenly, which I noticed off quite a few pairs. And there was no red flag news, so I don't understand why Great British Pound did that, but it did, because I did see it, as probably most of you did. And you can see two rejections off quarter theory, come back above the 62s, tried to break down through quarter theory again, and now it's bumbling along. This is quite a slow moving pair, where it's medium to slow, I think. So at the moment, it's not doing very much. So until it decides it's going to break through that line of 1.20500, there's no trade here because it's just, you know, waffling its way along between the 62 and the blue one, which is the 15-minute. This is 50 pips always. Now you have got a pitchfork there as well. Sorry, I've just noticed that. So that's two very strong lines of resistance for it to try and get through. So it may well want to come back up and come back up to that 15. Now with the faster pairs like GBP, GN, GBP NZD, GBP CAD, and Euro NZD, those are all speeds of 8 to 10 out of 10. You do want 15 pip stop losses in this market. So this one is a GBP pair, so I would put 15 on it, and that covers me if I got in that trade down here, although it was below the 62, but you've got two strong rejections. So that would cover me. I'd feel quite confident that, you know, that would help me not getting stopped out before I had a chance to move stop loss to stop profit of 1 pip or something, because you can get in before it turns the right side of the 62. It just depends what your other confirmations are and how confident you feel about that. So I'll just put a trend line on that so that you can get your eye in on that. And then the other way of looking at it is what trend line, and we'll do that as well. What trend line has it broken? Because remember, the 1 minute trend break is another one of our confirmations. So has it broken? Have we got a clear trend here? If we do a trend line from there, something like that. So if you look at it like that, just take off. I usually have extend right line on, but usually have that for my quarter alerts. So on this, you can see that you could have used this break of trend line here as one of your confirmations for entry. See if I put it on zoom in. So you've had a break and a retest of the 1 minute trend plus above the 62 EMA. You've had a break and a retest there of both the pitchfork and quarter theory. So that would have been 3 confirmations for the buy. And you could have given up, depends how confident you are, given up some pips in order to make sure, which is what it depends how conservative, not confident, wrong word, conservative, because I tend to be more conservative. So rather than me getting in down here on that break and retest, I probably would have waited for there. Not I would have. So break and a retest, and it did that by 7 pips. But, so not 10 pips, but it was off both levels, and then a break and a retest of that 1 minute trend. And then, you know, it's gone up from there. How many pips in profit would we be? Just dropping down now, 7 pips. So it, you know, you need to let it have room to breathe, let it do its thing. So even if it drops below that 62, as long, and it may even do some slippage through here, as long as it's carrying on up here with that, then you've got a target of 20 pips up there where it'll meet that 15-minute line. And then one more thing we could do is that fib retracement. Now this one I can see more clearly, there to there, that looks like where it should be. And then your rejection has been, well, it's slipped through the 61.8, but to the pitchfork and the quarter theory, and then 2 rejections off it, just slightly missing it, but I usually say it should touch it exactly. But actually, I think it's fine, because I've heard Chance, who you know I follow on channel 20, where I've learnt this from, he would go with that. I'm pretty sure he would go with that. So that means you've got your take profit level 1 here. So we've got, but you see for me, it's a bit late. It's 8 pips there, and then up to, I'm just showing you how I work trades out. And then from where price is at the moment up to that minus 27, which is take profit 2, that's 13 pips. And it's 20 pips, 23 pips up to take profit 3. So why wouldn't I get into the trade now? Well, because I'm using these tight stop losses of 10 to 15 pips. In fact, because of everything I've said, if you want to increase your percentage profit compounding on this system, then obviously putting it at 10 pips takes your figures up when you're compiling your yearly, you know, monthly, quarterly, yearly figures. So that takes it up to your ratio of 2, 10 pip stop loss to a 20 pip gain. But I wouldn't be getting in here now, because I like that precise entry, and I like to get in. I would have liked to have got in at the latest down there. So it's too far off for me now. So that's nearly 7 pips. So so what you could do with this is you could put your one-click overlay, your BYOB Ninjacator that Kevin has developed for us, and see if on the 5 minutes, because it's fewer pips, the 5 or the 15-minute, it's giving you a flat-bottomed buy candle on the Heikin-Ashi, and have you got 5 or 10 pips? Has it got the green triangle with up, ninja up? That's what you'd be looking for. So you can double check what I'm telling you against your system. So I hope that's helpful in showing you trades. I'll certainly have a look at this one later, because back testing helps you improve as a trader. By doing that, you could say, oh yeah, you know, it dropped back down, or it dropped below the 62. That would have been the time to get out of the trade. I mean, that's how you learn against different pairs what to do next time. So that's G-Chef. And you'll notice the market is a bit slower. That's USD CAD. So obviously whatever that news was at 215. Oh, didn't do much, did it? 215 to about 25, 30 pips, and it's stalling out now on just above that quarter theory. So it may well come up to that pitchfork and drop back. Let's find something that isn't a, isn't a USD pair. Euro GBP. 3 rejections off the quarter theory, came up to its. Now this is one where I wanted to show you. I think this is one of my secondary pitchforks I put on, and yesterday we were talking about them, and I said I won't draw it at the time, but price had moved out of out of a scan. So I put a second one on, and I thought I'll show you guys that today. So this is the second pitchfork here, where you take the pitchfork symbol on the left, which is up here where that hamburger is. There, the top one. You've got the little star. You can favorite these things to find them quicker in the future. So you put the first point out in the middle of nowhere, and then put your magnet on, so it will suck to the end of the wick, and then it's just X to A to draw your second pitchfork, and then you line it up in the opposite direction of the first pitchfork, which I've got hidden. I won't bother to switch it back on, but you know, it's pointing upwards obviously because that's a buy scan, so it would have been pointing up there. So you've got to have it in the opposite direction. So I've lined it up with the C. You don't have to line it up with the C. It's what you call best fit, but you're looking for as many touch points as possible. So you can see here, I've got perfect touch points all along there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections along there. I've got some wicks out there, but quite good touches there. I've got a perfect touch there, and along here. So I liked that because that was along the median. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know, so that to me is looking good. So I thought that's fine. I can work with that. So you can see that it's now at the outer edges of the extensions, which act like your Bollinger Bands on your BYOB, should ping price, snap price back into the scan. And you can see the 62 EMA, the 1 minute trend is still, this is on the hourly though, we need to come down to the 1 minute. But on the longer time frame, it is pushing it back in. It's below the 15 minutes, it's below quarter theory, and it's in a cell shape scan at the moment. So let's go down to the 1 minute and see what's happening on that trend. And you can see it is the 62 has crossed above, saying it wants to buy, and it's pushing above back out of the scan, but that looks like a downward trend to me. I could be wrong, has been known. And again, you know, I'm quite happy to talk about these things because I come back to this after we're off the session and I think, well, did I say the right thing? Did that work out? What actually happened? You know, and that's the way you improve, is through the back testing. And it is good to back test in the week because if you're using the system or using quarter theory, because quarter theory will switch off at weekends and when the market is closed, and you do need, and then you'd have to draw it on yourself. So it is wicking off that and coming back in. So if we were looking at this for a trade, then my preference, if I was not sitting here with you guys and thinking I'll have a look at this one possibly, I would be doing something like this, 10 pips up there, down to 20 pips round about that pitchfork there. And waiting for it to come down here like this, come down here, do a break and a retest and carry on down its merry way there. And that's what I would be looking for. So settings, let's put that back on yellow, which is what I usually use for my brush marks. So you'd have an entry at, and remember this isn't a New York session pair, but you'd be looking for an entry on 0.87284. Where's my Euro GBP? Let me write that down. Euro GBP, possible sell set idea, 0.87284. Entry, stop loss 0.87389, And then I'd probably put the take profit at that pitchfork, which is 16 pips at 0.87121, but have a look at it at 10 pips to see if price stalls out. Okay, and in fact it is coming back down. It is coming back down now. So you'd have a break and a retest of that second extension. I normally don't get in these ones unless they've cleared that, and we would want a break and a retest of this trend line to give us, because I haven't got quarter theory on this one, so probably ignore the wicks and put it. It's not a very clear trend. You're looking for as many touches. I mean, there is some slippage through there. So we've got a possible trade here. It is moving, but this is the fake out zone, this 10 minutes before the hour. So often price can do the opposite. So as I've said before, I usually wait for the close of hour candle before getting into a trade, because it will do crazy things. And notice it coming down. It tested the 15-minute line, the blue one, came down to test the pitchfork and came up above that. So you know, that's why I say look at it at around 10 pips, because it could be coming down to test this 15-minute and then want to carry on up. Sometimes I move these, but not. I try not to force a trade, because there's no point in doing that. So there is a break. If it is on that point there, although it's slightly off here, then it does look like it's breaking and retesting there. So we'll just sit and watch this one for a moment. Going to go. See, I've done this myself in the past. You see how it's kind of just shooting straight down? I thought, oh, I've got to get in, and then I have regretted it, because it then decides it doesn't want to do that at all, and it's come back the other way. So I try now to stay patient for the break and retest, even if it means I miss some trades. So here you see it dropped down, and it did do that break and retest, but then it came above the 62 and it wanted to push up outside the extension, but it can't quite manage it. You've got a lower high forming. That's a lower high. There's the high there, lower high, lower high. So it's struggling to break above that. You know, read the charts, read the story, read what this is telling you. It's struggling to push above these extensions and carry on up. It's now dropped below the 62. So if it does do this again, it's likely that it won't push up that far, as long as it carries on forming a lower high, because that's the sign of the reversal in the trend. So if you are interested in this as a trade idea, I've given you the figures. We'll just look at one more before we go, and I'll stop sharing if anyone's got any questions. Then wait till the end of the hour and give it a chance to settle after the crazy fake outs on the hour, and for a few minutes afterwards. So that's Euro GBP. There was one other I was going to show you, and I forgot. I think it's because oh yeah, we went through that one from yesterday. So CAD JPY has got a new scan. So I don't want to look at that one. So Euro NZD is a very fast moving pair. Use a 15 pip stop loss on this one. And quarter theory, let's see if I can get that to stabilize. So nice rejection here. It didn't do a break and a retest there, but you've got quarter theory and the pitchfork, and it's coming down below the 62. So how many? Sometimes I do get in on a quarter theory trade. So it's a fast moving pair. Now that's a big scan. That's 120 pips between pitchforks. So at this point, down to the quarter theory is 35 pips. So at the moment it is coming below the 62. It's rejected off that pitchfork. It is 12 pips away from the quarter theory. So to look at this for a trade, put the short position on quarter theory. The only thing I don't like about that is I haven't got a pitchfork. So you know, it's a quarter theory. It becomes a quarter theory trade then. So because I just don't work off that size stop loss, like 20, 30 pips. I can't. It just doesn't suit my mentality of trading. I just don't like to think what the damage would be to my money working off big stop losses if something happens. So it doesn't make for a comfortable life for me. So put that at 20 because that's my normal. So and remember, it is a fast moving pair, so you want to wait for it to come down, do its own thing for 10 pips off there. This is a big scan, and then you'll be looking at, so you're looking at an entry. This is a trade idea to watch, and I'll look at it myself, which is a sell on EN with an entry at 1.78500, a stop loss of 1.78650, and a take profit at, now you have to manually look at this after 10 pips, remember, take profit at 1.78000 down to, oh sorry, I've got the brush on. Just want to get the last measurement for you, down to that next pitchfork at 1.77600. Okay, doesn't mean to say it'll get there. And the other thing you can do is put the fib on. So I love putting that on. I love the fib because when I get it right, because then I know where my take profit levels are. So that fib is telling you that your take profit level is going to be at around 10 pips. Sorry, that's 20 pips. And then take profit 2 would be at 35 pips. So you've got 20, 35, and there's one there at 50, and one down here at call it 85. And that's why I love this strategy, because you can sometimes get these nice big home runs just off a 10 or 15 pip stop loss. So if it did go down to that 61.8, you've got a risk to reward of nearly 4, 3.72. And then down here at that pitchfork, it's puts it up to over 5. So don't get greedy, because on a stop loss like that, you know, you're more than doing your gains with a very good risk to reward. And as I say, it's a fast moving pair. So I'm going to stop sharing now because we're coming up to Sharon's session, and I will be on Sarah Jane's call later. And thanks very much for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye for now.